Have left their camp near Heathrow and taken to the streets around the airport. They split into a number of groups, one of which headed towards the headquarters of the British Airports Authority. That's the company that runs Heathrow. There were some minor skirmishes between the police and the protesters along the route. Our reporter Paul Harrison is with the protesters at Heathrow. And how heated did things get today, Paul?
Sometimes it looked like things were potentially getting out of order. There was an awful lot of anticipation from early this morning. This was the final day of the protests. There was a mass day of protest, direct action planned. But really, I don't think you could perhaps say that they may well be a little bit disappointed about the turn-up. The plan was for marches to leave the Camp for Climate Change and descend upon BAA headquarters. But if you look at the car park here at BAA headquarters, it's pretty empty. There's some riot police outside the front entrance there. But really, I would say the number of protesters who've actually been able to make it all the way here is perhaps 100, 150 at the very most, given that about 400 or so left the camp earlier today around midday. Now, this group you're looking at now, this is a different scenario. They actually broke out of the Camp for Climate Change. They were being prevented from leaving and decided that they'd take it upon themselves to break through the fence of the camp and effectively march through a housing estate. And at that point, things looked like they may well be starting to get out of hand, but really ultimately everybody was corralled all together. And as you can see, more or less things are back to normal. Right now, what's going on is they're having a vote about whether they're going to stay or they're going to leave. They were given the option, if they wanted to stay, they could do so. So they're now rather democratically having a vote to find out whether they are going to stay here or be escorted right back to the camp. I think ultimately everyone feels that they have made their point, even though perhaps they might be a little disappointed about the turnout.
Well, that's what I was wondering, Paul. You say possibly they're disappointed about their lack of success when it comes to direct action, but do they think, after days of being on the television and in newspapers, that they've got their message across?
I think they do. I think if you go online and you look at the amount of articles that have been written about it, the number of media that's here, just to this one group, I think you can safely say that it is the world's media. There are journalists from all over the world here. So I think even though perhaps we haven't seen what many anticipated as being a little bit more sort of activist kind of action, maybe storming the runways at Heathrow, that kind of action hasn't happened. Perhaps the militant aspect hasn't really come through. There were fears that maybe some of the people on the Camp for Climate Change had ulterior motives to try and rock the boat, if you like. It was very organised all week, and perhaps there may be one or two bad eggs, but that doesn't seem to have transpired. This will probably remain now pretty calm. I suspect probably soon they'll be escorted back to the camp for their last night.
Paul, thanks for the update.